So if you guys weren't here last week, like Arlene, tisk tisk. No, I'm just kidding. We are starting a new series, and it is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be educational. It's going to save you time.
And
It's going
money.
to save you money. What more could you ask for?
I don't know.
Oh.
So our new series is called Stop the Insanity. And what we mean by stop the insanity is we all know, at least we should by now, that patterns aren't going to fit us out of the envelope. So every time you purchase a new pattern, you've got to make some adjustments or pray that it's going to fit, which is probably futile. So you're going to make some adjustments. So now you've learned how to make some adjustments because we've been doing some muslins and we did the everybody's shirt a few months ago. And we learned about making those adjustments to the pattern, making a muslin, making sure it fits before we cut out the fashion fabric. And then you can sew it up with delight. You know, you're completely stress free as far as worrying that it's going to be worth your time and effort. So, but then you make a nice long sleeve button up shirt and you love it. And then you say, oh, I need a summer shirt. I need a camp shirt. I want something with some pockets and maybe a straighter hemline or whatever. So I'm going to go buy another pattern. No, you don't need to buy another pattern. You already got a shirt pattern that fits. All you need to do is modify that pattern ever so slightly. So it's the way designers work. So if there's a designer in their design house, let's say it's Christian Siriano. In his design house, he has tag board patterns that are blocks. So they're the basis of every garment you make. So you've got your block. So instead of going and drafting a new block, you start with that block, which has the bodice and the has a sleeve and a collar. Then you don't want a collar, you put a facing on instead. You want to change the collar, you change the shape of the collar, but you don't get a whole new pattern. Same thing with the sleeve. We're just going to change. You want to add pockets, you can just add pockets. And you're not reinventing the wheel. So I know sometimes we get seduced by the pictures on the pattern covers, but then we all know what happens when we make them. They don't always look like that cover anyway. So why not be seduced by pictures or actual real garments? That's where I get a lot of my inspiration. It's either one of my favorite garments I've ever owned, or it's something that I've seen in a catalog, or I've seen on the rack in a store and I don't want to pay the price, or I know it's not going to fit me anyway, but I love the look of it. I can take that inspiration and manipulate my block a little bit, my sloper, and voila, I can have that same garment. Only difference is it's made to fit me. So that's what we mean about stop the insanity. So that's what this series is all about.
Insanity?
I'm an expert.
True story.
I knew she'd agree. Yes. So
Okay.
so we're starting out with the button up.
We're starting out with the button up.
The button up.
So, things that you may have worked with us before on would be the Everybody shirt.
Yes, that was our most
If
recent
you're
sew
not
along.
familiar, we have this sew along right here on the Facebook page or on our YouTube channel if you wanted to revisit it or see it for the first time.
And then this one is the everybody shirt. And this one, if you took my craftsy
No,
class,
this is the Everybody shirt.
I'm sorry, this is the Shirt Makers Express.
It was a test.
Anyway, if you took my craftsy class, this is the shirt that we made in that class. So, in other words, we have sew alongs for both of these shirts, as well as some fitting techniques to get the fitting techniques are not on the craftsy, but they are on our Facebook page and our YouTube. So there's lots of opportunities on the YouTube channel. Got my notes here. Um, because we have fitting series on there. So we have a woven bodice fitting series, and we also have a knit fit fitting series on there. So that's a great place to go to get started. And like we always say, if you have any questions, you will send them to me and I'm happy to answer them. So if something's just sort of kind of stumping you about getting that put together, let me know. I'm available by email at islandersewing@comcast.net. We've also got on our fitting page now two different new items. One is a document, it's a free download, and it's instructions on how to make your muslin if you're trying to get a sloper block down. So to make your muslin, you need to do it step by step. It's not about sewing it all together like you would if you were making the pattern. So you need to follow those directions step by step. So that uh, document will help you, that PDF, as well as go to the playlists in the YouTube channel, and you also have a primer there to help you understand which steps to do first. Then, should you end up in a quandary or just have some questions or
Like a
not
fitting issue, like something's not working out, like this shoulder is just not fitting, and I've done what you list, I've watched the YouTube, whatever, I can't figure it out, my shoulder is not fitting properly.
or you get your muslin almost done, you haven't put the sleeves in, and you just want some extra support to make sure it's time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have what's called fitting support, uh, the woven bodice fitting support, and it's a $29.95 item, and that will give you 3 back and forths by email with photographs with me. And if need be, we'll even talk on the phone. But generally, all we need to do is go back and forth with these photographs. And most people get it done in 2 rounds. But I'm going to allow 3 rounds just to give you that extra little bit of support that you might need. So if you're new to sewing or new to fitting, or it just isn't something that makes a lot of sense to you, then we have
might have like an extra special
yeah,
thing, you know.
sure. Well, yeah. That a lot of people do have
Yeah.
several asymmetrical parts of their
Yeah,
body.
like we've talked about one shoulder being lower than the other, or you might have we've had scoliosis, stuff like that, that requires a little bit more help sometimes than just a bust adjustment or something like that.
Exactly. So when you send the photographs, I work with the photographs and I do circles and arrows and texts and everything to help you really be clear and understand how to get that muslin fitted. Because once you get that fitted, once you have that sloper, then the world's your oyster. You can do whatever you want. You're just going to be able to change all the different components, but the basic body part is what has to fit to begin with. And then no more reinventing the wheel, no more buying a pattern and crossing your fingers and hoping it's going to fit.
Yeah. Or even if you do know how to fit, like having to put all that work in to change the pattern when you
Right.
one.
Yeah. Once you get it down, you think, okay, that's fine, but why again continue to spend the extra dollar? And of course, as we've been learning through some of our other information, not all patterns are good quality patterns. So sometimes you think, oh, well, it's only a $10 pattern, I'll buy it. Well, if it's only a $10 pattern, chances are it's what it's worth.
Only a $10 pattern.
Yeah. So, when you get up to the better quality patterns, you're paying $20 or more. So buying a lot of patterns adds up really fast.
Just to make a long sleeve, short sleeve.
Right, exactly.
Just to change the hem. Just these little things.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Okay, Sherry has a question, and I think it's good because we didn't really talk about this yet. If you are not ordering the kit for this shirt or this series, do we determine the amount of fabric needed based on the requirements for the original pattern? And she says everybody's shirt.
Oh, so what I did was in the fabric that I'm sending you for the kit, I subtracted a half a yard from a long sleeve shirt. Now, that's 18 inches, and there's going to be uh, two sleeves that are going to be more than 18 inches shorter. So, what I'm trying to say is at least take a half a yard off and you'll be safe. You probably could take 3/4 of a yard off, but I'm not going to tell you to do that.
Just in case.
Just in
Better
case.
safe than sorry. But that brings up, we talked about the kit last week, but we didn't specifically mention it this week for anybody who wasn't here.
Right. So we do have two types of kits
For this series.
for the camp shirt series. So what we're doing starting today is we're making changes to our existing sloper block, and if you don't have one, then this might you need to go make one. But anyways, that's what we're doing. And where was I going with
The
that?
kit.
The kit. So the kit is based on what we're doing, and it's in lawns, and we have was it 12 or 13
It's
lawns?
at least 1,300 lawns to choose from. Miss Janet just keeps buying them.
I love them. And so that you can purchase them with one of the starter patterns. So if you haven't done the starter pattern, which we're using these as our starters, then you can choose one of these. And that's called the deluxe kit. If you don't need a pattern, you already have your block or your sloper, then you just get the camp shirt kit. And it comes with the fabric, the interfacing, and buttons. So all you have to do is add the fine thread.
If you just want to buy the fabric.
And you can just buy the fabric by the yard, and then you may already have some interfacing and, again, fine thread.
You can buy a half a yard less than
Yeah.
what the pattern calls for. If you have your own fabric, that's fine too.
And yeah.
Something for everybody. Just to make it super complicated, there's something for everybody.
Yeah, you don't have to make your camp shirt out of lawn. I mean, not all camp shirts are made out of lawn, but we know that that is one of the most prestigious, one of the, better fabrics to use for a summer camp shirt.
And most comfortable.
Yes. So that's why we chose that fabric for this particular.
And that is what we will be working with for this series. Okay. Is that clear as mud for everybody? I think we covered it all, but I'll give you a second if you have any questions.
I don't think I covered the woven bodice kit.
Here we go.
So if you have never done a block and you'd like to get one done, if you'd like one with princess seams, we have two different patterns that include princess seams that are actually sloper blocks. That's what these are. They're made for the basis of a garment, and then you add and subtract. So when you get the kit, you can choose one of these, or if you get the deluxe sloper kit, you get all three. So there's two that have princess seams and one that does not have princess seams. So you could start here, and you get muslin and you get the dotted paper in that kit and everything. You can look. If you buy the deluxe, you actually get the video done by the fitting expert, Connie Crawford. So there's lots of options to learn how to fit your garments. And I'm going to tell you a little quick thing that hit home for a lot of people. I was in a class one time, and it was touted as a tailoring class, and I was in a sewing group. So several people, raised their hand, wanted to go to this, and I wanted to go to it, and I got there, and the supplies were paper, pencil, and eraser, and ruler, so I knew we were going to draft. And we got there, and we went through about 3 weeks of the class, and we're drafting away, once a week class, and all of a sudden, one of the ladies in the group, she was speaking for most of the women in the group, and because she had no idea why she was having to draft. She said, I thought we were going to sew. I thought that this was a tailoring class where we were going to learn to sew. When are we going to sew? And the gentleman that taught the class was a man who learned his trade in Germany. And he just looked at her with the greatest puzzle in his eyes, and he said, why would you want to sew before you knew if it was going to fit? Well, he didn't know that that's the way we do it in America. That's what I thought to myself at the time. It's like, I wasn't taught to fit first. I was just taught to sew first.
It's like, let's get this show on the road.
He had to spend 2 years learning pattern drafting and fitting before they'd let him touch the sewing machine. But he learned his craft well. And so we're kind of having to go backwards and pick up that fitting and that pattern making. And you don't have to become a pattern maker, but you do need to understand your patterns. And doing these slopers will help with that as well.
Okay, so Catherine asked, where on the site is the PDF? And I assume you're talking about the critique sheet. So that I linked it in your comment, Catherine, but for anybody else, it's on our website, islandersewing.com, under the fitting tab. So you click fitting, and then all the
All the
fitting
fitting products are there. So you're going to find the sloper blocks. We've got children's, we've got pants, we've got leggings, we've got bodices, and then you're going to find the kits, the fitting kits,
the critique sheet. There's also our awesome fitting measuring tape.
Yes, we have the measuring tape. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's so that you can measure yourself. It locks into place
properly.
Yes. It locks into place with a snap, so you can always get accurate measurements if you have to measure yourself.
So I put that link in your comment, but if you were looking for something else, if I misunderstood, just let me know and I can help you with what you're looking for. So if we don't have any other questions, should we move on to actually showing you how to do what we're talking about doing?
Yeah, I want to start today with showing you the easy way to convert the sleeve, long sleeve, long sleeve into a short sleeve.
So, which one are you working? You're working on the everybody?
Yes, I'm working on the everybody's because it's more complicated because it's a two-piece sleeve. So we have to do a step that we won't have to do if you're working with something like the shirt makers or something similar to that.
But it will still show you how to do it.
Okay,
It'll just be easy for you.
Yes, that one step easier.
All right, so Janet's going to move over to the other side of the table. And I'll switch the camera around here.
I need some weights. Over here.
You're on the camera.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to start out with is the everybody's sleeve, and it is a two-piece. So something that is very important in pattern making, but you have to add it to your patterns, and that is the stitching line. So the stitching line, the seam line, wherever the seam allowance is supposed to fall, I've marked on this two-piece sleeve. So you'll see in red, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I've marked both of those. And I just used my little ruler, marked off a 1/4 inch. And now what I want to do is I want as if these were sewn together. And I'm just going to get them lined up as if they were sewn together. Making those stitching lines right on top of each other. And then I'm going to use this reposition of all, oh shoot. And I'm trying to think, it was Connie Woods, I think, that gave me the tip about where to find this tape and to use this tape. And man, this is great. Because I can take this right off later and it won't ruin the pattern. But it'll hold it in place in the meantime, so that I can trace out this sleeve. Oh, shoot. To do it this way. Alrighty. You want to transfer all the markings because this is going to be added to your sloper pattern. Envelope, so that now you'll have the long sleeve and the short sleeve of it. So I'm just going to match up my straight of grain lines here. Okay. So what I want to do is we're just going to trace the sleeve cap. But again, make sure you get all your notches. Clean that up a little bit. All right, I got a double notch in the back. And always don't wait to write on this pattern piece what it is, who it's for, whatever. So we know it's a sleeve. And let's just say, I would say this is from Janet's block. And I would say sleeve, this is for my camp shirt. So it's a camp shirt sleeve. And today is 4/18/22. And you may want to put other information on like sizes or whatever. So now we have our sleeve cap. So we know this is going to fit our arm side because this pattern fits, right? We already know it fits. So this we know is going to fit, but we don't want a long sleeve version. And I used to do this all the time when I was a kid, and I'd find a sleeve, like a puff sleeve or a different type of treatment, and I would just, this is exactly how I would do it. So we're just going to trace this down. Yeah, let's see how our hem is. Oftentimes the hem can be curved a little bit. In this case, it's slightly rounded. So it isn't as straight as you might think. It's going to be a little deeper in this area. So you want to make sure that you don't just draw a straight line. If that was the case, we probably wouldn't need an extra pattern piece. We just
hack it off.
Just hack it off. So. And there's your short sleeve. Of course, I kind of rushed through it because I don't want to take a lot of time, but I think you get the idea. We've got all of our markings. Now I'm going to test this anyway. I'm going to test it in my muslin of my camp shirt just to be sure. Do my line a little bit longer. And, you know, if your hem is 1 inch hem, you want to put that on here. I got a 3/8 inch seam allowance on my sleeve cap. I always do 5/8 on the side seam. So add your seam allowances on there as well. And I think there you go. All right, let's see if we have any questions before I walk away. And of course you can see this tape is just excellent. It comes right off and it doesn't disturb the pattern. And this is called Removable Tape by Scotch.
Clever.
Okay.
I don't have any questions. Do you want to remind them again? What is the short sleeve? Where did you get the short sleeve?
Oh yeah, I got this out of 1301, the one of our sloper blocks. So that's where I got this sleeve from. I know it's a good sleeve. I don't need the cap on this one. And let's look here. Let's see how different the cap would be. So look, you see, this sleeve cap is not going to fit into the arm size. So you can't just, and I know people have tried this before, and I think they probably found out they couldn't do it. But you see, it's completely off, and it's not even the same shape. So this is not going to fit into the arm side this one's going to fit into. So that's why we traced the cap off of this one, but we used the hemline and the side seams, or the underarm seams of the 1301. But you may have a sleeve, a short sleeve from another pattern that you know fits you well, it's the length you like. Another thing you want to do a muslin of this, because you want to audition, is that the length you want your sleeve? You know, like Brenda is making one right now, and I'm making another one too, and she likes a little bit longer sleeve than I do. So she said, I'm going to lengthen my sleeve, and I'm shortening mine. So everybody has their druthers, and that's what the beauty of being able to make your own. You do it exactly the way you want.
Yeah, so Linda had commented at the same time you were explaining, so she said she got it now, but that was her question. Do you need to have a short sleeve pattern to make, change the long sleeve version? So that answers that. You know, use as Janet said, you want to use a trusted sleeve.
Yeah, don't just any old sleeve. And again, like I said, be cautious of the pattern that you purchase and that you use, because so many of them are so poorly made that you could be the best seamstress and you still can't make it work. So work well anyway. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about was adding pockets, because these two patterns that we have, we didn't put pockets on them. So how do we add a pocket? And I'm going to go on to the other side of the room and show you just a real simple auditioning concept. So like I said before, I like to take my inspiration from ready-to-wear, designer wear, or things I already have in my closet. But just for an example, we're going to do a camp shirt and we want to put pockets on it. I'm not sure you'll be able to see this one very well, but it's just a single pocket. Very simple, clean lines, just a simple pocket. Maybe that's what you want to do.
One simple pocket.
Here's one that's got flaps. And this one was kind of, this one was a traditional, I think, pointed on the bottom pocket. This one's more of a square, but it has an additional flap on it, which gives it just a little more look. This one's just real casual. If you were going to do it out of chambray or something, this could be a fun look. Just a very square pocket, and two of them. Now this one is also pockets with the little flaps, but it's a closer fitting shirt, so the pockets are snugger on the breast. Now this woman looks to me like to be a B cup. I'm a double D. I can't wear that. Those flaps won't lay flat down. But you could audition them and put them up a little bit higher, and they would. This one's another one with snaps, and it has the flap.
And they're long.
Really much bigger. And if it's a looser fitting, then you don't have that. You don't have that bust issue. They're not going to pop out. You see how that's has more ease in that shirt. Now this is one I think is really fun. And this would be a princess seam. So you can see the princess seam and the pockets and what they've done. I'm hoping you can see. I would think they'd used a cover hem on this. So down the princess seam and around the pocket, there's a stitching, a decorative stitching look. And I assume, I can't see it real well to be sure, but that's what I think. Or even if it isn't, that's what you could do. It's exactly what you could do to emulate that. Sometimes you look at it and you go, well, they had a special piece of equipment or a special whatever. You can still get a similar or almost identical look, but sometimes it's just with a different option, materials, stitch, or whatever. But I like that one. I thought that was clever. It adds just a little, not too much, by having that stitching on there.
So you have a lot of options for something that you might not normally think of, something like a pocket. You have a lot of options, a lot of different sizes. You know, like Janet talked about how simple these are, but they, in my mind, they're a little oversized. You know, but they blend right in with the fabric, so it's not
and
too
you can
much.
And notice, if you want to know a little bit more about proportions, notice the oversized pockets are on shirts that are slightly oversized or have more ease.
More ease, yep.
Where the smaller pockets are on the closer fitting, like that blue one right there. So those are closer fitting. That's about proportion.
But if you want to get funky,
you do it, because that's why we sew, because we're going to do what we want, what we like. And sometimes what seems completely goes against the grain of everything, all of a sudden becomes the greatest trend in fashion.
It's all in how you wear it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
I thought I had, this was a sleeve question. If you want to go back or you want to wait till after you finish your pocket stitch.
Oh, I'm just going to, so what I did here, and then I'll answer the sleeve question. I made a couple of pockets just for auditioning. And these are just your basic little, the basic pocket with the pointed end. So then you could have your shirt on your own body, the body of the wearer, or you can do it on a dress form. And then you can audition them. Where do I want them? Do I want one? Do I want two? Do I want them high? Do I want them low?
Do you want them to wobble to and fro?
And you know, I was looking at the Guayvera. Guayveras have 4 pockets. And that can be really fun too. Especially if you had a solid fabric and you wanted to zhuzh it up a little bit. Do some double top stitching or some cover hem stitching on the pockets and put 2 pockets, especially if it's boxy. So it's all about just auditioning. Maybe you don't like the pointy. Maybe you want to see, well, will it look better if it was square? Do I like that better? Then you can just press that over and take a look at it and see if you like it square. But I just cut this out of the leftover fabric. Now, the only difference here is that to audition it, you've got to have the shirt made before you audition the pocket. So you are going to have to sew the pocket on after the whole shirt is made. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Of course, I'd rather put the pocket on before the shirt is completely constructed. But in this case, it might serve you better to do it afterwards. Okay.
And then you can also play with, like, I know it's a little bit, whoa, focus. I know it was a little bit hard to see because Janet's using the same fabric on the shirt. So we could see what you were doing. But don't forget, you could change it up too. You can put your design going the other way. You could have a solid shirt colored pockets.
Stripes are great for that. Vertical stripes with horizontal stripe pockets, or plaid with bias.
Yep.
And so, yeah, lots of options. And don't just be married to whatever's on the pattern envelope or whatever. Again, take a look at what's going on. Maybe you see it, you go to the movies this weekend and you see this great garment, you love that little treatment. Yep. You can add that to your own.
And let's look at your pocket too. Your pocket on your jacket here. I don't know if I can get in there after I bring it up. Has, the decorative stitching on it.
Yeah, this is the top stitching thread.
There you go.
Yep. This is the Jacket Express, which is a sew along class on Craftsy. but we have the patterns as well. Jacket Express, but it's
But
got
you could
lots
do
of
that.
fun top stitching options.
You can add top stitching to your pockets. Janice says a sheer fabric would be fun. Like a
Yes.
sheer pocket.
Yes.
Or put a sheer over this, so then you have like, it just changes it mutes it just a
Sure.
little bit, gives it just a little bit.
Or you could
Or
you could slice the pocket and put a sheer piece in so that it's like a ribbon.
you
Yeah.
could use a ribbon.
Exactly. There
you
you
could
go.
use a trim of some sort.
When I teach a shirt making class in person, and we do like a 2 or 3 day class, one of the nights after class, we go to Nordstrom's and we go through the shirt department and we look at all kinds of inspiration. And I've used a lot of the inspiration, and we're talking $200-300 shirts, and I can go home and make it for $40. And
Because sometimes, I mean,
and it fits.
they're made well. I mean, you go to
Yeah.
Nordstrom because you know they're made well, and
Exactly.
you can look at all the stitching and see like, oh, what did they do here? How did they do that? But sometimes the difference in the price of those shirts is something as simple as the pocket on a bias,
Yeah.
or the detail on your placket. It's like, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. There's just so many
easy,
little
easy.
touches that you can add that these designers have added, and they charge a fortune for, and it's 10 more minutes of your time and you've got a designer look.
Yep. So don't be afraid to step out the box. And I know sometimes, some of us are afraid, but you can do it in those little details and see how that makes you feel to grow into the bigger, bolder things, if that's what you're looking for. Just make that pocket a little bit different, add a little embellishment or something. And then, like, that's, for some people, that's big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would start with small changes and small details and work your way up to the bigger ones. It is it's unknown territory sometimes and you're just not quite sure, but the fit is so important in a garment looking good to begin with. So once you've got the fit down, making those changes isn't going to be as daunting.
Yes. So
You had a sleeve question.
Janice asked, what about long bell-shaped sleeves?
I think they're great. So, Janice, if you had a bell-shaped sleeve pattern, you could do the same thing I just did. If you don't have that, then you need the directions on how to draft a bell sleeve. Otherwise, you could guess at it, but it isn't going to come out as accurate as it should. So if you have Connie's pattern drafting book, you don't have to be a pattern drafter, but you can go and draft that sleeve. You could take your sleeve cap and just do the directions. Where's my book? I'll show you quick.
Quick, as soon as I remember where it is.
It's right here. It's never very far. Oh my goodness, look at it. So, I'll just give you a quick glimpse of, I can find the sleeves. There they are. We actually have a bell. We have some. Come on.
There's a puff.
Yeah, they're straight. But it would be similar to this one. I'm just going to go with this to explain it. So, when you make your sleeve, you always start with the same sleeve. And then you make all these changes. So, if you can see here what's happened. Am I got the right page? Yeah. See how it's split and then spread. So what you do is you take a tracing of the original pattern, you follow these directions, which I can't give you, here, and you slice it and spread it, and then trace it again, and that would be your bell sleeve. So in this particular book, there's like half a dozen, maybe a dozen somewheres in there, different types of sleeve shapes and what you can do. Oh, there's at least a dozen now that I think about it, but so many. especially the new ones where they're really puffy and up at the top. Here's what you would do to get it really puffy at the cap. So it's very interesting. And when you see those flat patterns done like that, you think, what the heck? It doesn't even look like a real pattern piece, but it works. Especially if you're starting with your sleeve block. Then you know that the basis is right. And then the changes you make are hopefully don't impact that fit. You make sure the changes don't impact the fit, and you're good to go.
Pam asks if you want both oversized shirts or those with more ease and more closely fitted shirts, would you need to make
2 blocks?
Yep, sulpers for both?
Not necessarily. It would depend on the style and how many pieces. But basically, the wearing ease is going to be more in the side seams anyway. That's side seams pretty much would be to give you that little bit of extra. But it depends on how oversized you want to get. So you would have to determine that. And there's nothing wrong with having 2 blocks. One that is your extra casual, loose and easy going, and then one that's more dressed up and more fitted. So it just depends on how extreme you want to go from one to the other.
Brenda says, I'm guilty of wearing the same styles over and over. I lost it. I will look at something and feel I can't wear it because it's not my style. Or do you ever do this, Brenda? Do you ever go and be like, I want something different? So you're like, this is it. And then
you get home and
it just sits there forever.
Oh.
Like you never wear it. You're like, why did I buy that? I should have known I wasn't going to wear that. But that, again, is the beauty of making these little changes or auditioning the pockets. Put it on your dress form. Be like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put a different color pocket on this shirt. Put it on your dress form and walk by it for a day.
Yeah.
Walk by it for a day or two. And if at the end of that time you're like, I'm not going to wear it, I won't put it on. But if it grows on you and you feel like, you know what, I'm going to try it. Go for it.
And what she's saying to do is what I do all the time. I will set it on my dress form or something that I'm working on. And as I walk in and out of the house, I'll peek in the doorway just to, I don't know, I just get a sense of how does it look at this angle. And always back up. Don't look at it up here. Look at it from 5, 6, 8 feet away so that you can get the whole concept.
Yeah. Pam says, I wish you would have done this last week. Sorry, Pam. Because she's going to Greece.
Aww.
So I don't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah, really.
On Friday.
I want to go to
Greece. She said, so no time to make a shirt, but she says, I did use my pants eccentric kit. I made my block and changed the look on that for 2 different leg looks.
You did,
and just to clarify, 2 pairs of shorts. So it wasn't like one left leg was different than the right leg.
But that's great.
And
that's
she
great.
says they actually fit! Exclamation point.
Well, of course they do. And I'm so glad to hear that you did go through the pant block. So when you get back from your lovely trip to Greece,
add a shirt to match.
Yeah, then you can make some camp shirts to go with the shorts.
Hold up the book again, please.
Which part?
So we didn't talk about the name of the book.
You're just
I'm
like,
sorry. My book.
This is the Pattern Drafting Made Easy book, or Pattern Making.
Pattern Making Made Easy.
Yeah.
And some of them new because Debbie said that's the best book I've ever bought.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it, this is what it is.
It's not an inexpensive book. It's a textbook. It's 480 pages. And again, you don't have to be a drafter. You could find just those changes, like somebody asked about the bell sleeve. You could go right here and find out how to make a bell sleeve, or how to take a single sleeve and make it into a 2-piece sleeve. Just so many other things are in here. Moving a dart, all that kind of stuff is all part of drafting, but it doesn't mean you have to draft in order to make good use of this book.
And Marlene had a good suggestion if you're not sure if you would like a style or something when you're doing that kind of snoop shopping. She says, like try it on in the dressing room and
Absolutely.
take a picture. Say like,
Absolutely.
do I like this? You can go back and look at it when you're at home and see what did they do? Will I like that?
Yes. I have a friend who has done that for 50 years. She goes to the dressing rooms, tries on the designer garments, and goes home and makes them up for herself by copying what she saw that she liked and looked good on her.
Yep. And you get a good sense then too of where something might fit or not fit
Exactly.
your body
And a
shape.
lot of times because of your height, you know, uh, something falls in the wrong place. For me, I'm so short in here. My neck is so short. The collar stands end up here on me. But I can cut that down and I can make the collar stand shorter. And it looks the same on me as it does on somebody else now because it's been proportioned
Right.
to my
It's
body.
proportion. It's not necessarily all that different. It's
Right,
just proportion.
exactly. Exactly. And so that's what you can do for yourself in sewing, is to get that look. And we all settle. I've done it for years myself. I don't make everything I wear. And I have settled with things that are um, just not perfect. I can just roll up the waistband or I can, whatever, tuck something here or there or cut it off. And so we all have done that. But you shouldn't have to do that with your entire wardrobe. And
Right.
particularly if you want to make something, you should be able to make it to fit
Well, and
you.
it all goes back to having that sloper, having that
Mm-hmm.
block,
Mm-hmm.
and making the changes. Once you know that it fits, even making the sleeve
Yeah,
change is a
yeah.
big difference. Like a long sleeve with a placket and a button,
Well, yeah.
just changing it to a short sleeve, a casual short sleeve, makes a ton of difference.
Well, yeah, you can make this shirt and this shirt from the same pattern. That's the whole
And you
fun
can make one
concept.
tunic and
Yeah.
make it short. You can make it a crop top.
Make it floor length. It doesn't,
Whatever.
yeah, whatever. So anyway, you'll find with this concept you need a lot less patterns.
Yes.
Just pattern paper. The little
Paper.
pattern paper.
Little pattern paper.
There you go.
All right. So one more update before we are done for the day. I know this is going to come as a shock to many of you, but Janet bought more fabric.
I couldn't resist it.
But this is super cute. It's behind me, but I'll bring it up. Comes the same fabric, two colorways.
So these are a jersey. And you see these little black hearts on here, and then a tiny bit of what I determined as rose gold foil.
I would agree.
Yes, we agreed on a
A
color.
little rose gold shimmer there for you. And it's like some of the hearts are very, very heart shaped, while some of them are a little more abstract,
Mm-hmm.
which gives it that dimension and ranges in sizes, the hearts.
Yeah.
So from far away, you're like, is that hearts? Is that not? And the two colorways, so you have the gray with the rose, the black hearts and the rose gold, and then you have the black with the white hearts and the rose gold. Very, very cute.
Now there's one other aspect.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. This one on the bottom is French terry.
Oh.
These two are jersey, and then there's a French terry. So I'm planning on taking the French terry and making like a little shrug or a little sweater kind of open.
Like an open cardigan.
Yep,
type
and then making a
situation.
t-shirt out of the black
Ooh.
to go underneath it. So it's like a sweater set, but it's really t-shirt knit or French terry.
Yeah.
So it kind of zhuzhes it up a little bit. So that's what I plan to do with it, but it is beautiful. I grabbed it the minute I saw it. My salesman knows me.
Can't
Here,
stop, won't stop.
Sends me little. I didn't even ask for him. He sends me these samples. Here, what do you
Of
think?
course
these?
he does. He's a salesman, and you have a problem.
Help me with my problem.
And you all benefit. But no, it's a beautiful fabric. It's very fun. It feels wonderful.
It's
Um,
58 to 60 wide.
so a lot you can do with that. So that's what we have. If you hadn't already seen, and don't forget we have all the lawns, and all the land.
we have we have some lovely lawns. A price range. They're not all the same in price, and yeah, lots of fun. We got some fun buttons that we put in the kits to go with it, and definitely if you're using our lawns or any lawn, the light and stable interfacing is all you want to use because the lawn is so lightweight that if you put anything heavier than that in it, it just is going to be incongruent with the rest of the garment.
Yeah.
And what else do I say about that? Oh, and again, remember the fine thread. Now, we gave you some sources last week, but you definitely don't want to use basic construction thread with lawn.
Mm-hmm.
The seams will pucker.
All right.
And
So
size 10 microtex needle works great too.
so we will be back next week with some more simple changes that you can make. And
Yeah, next week we're going to cover hemlines and sleeveless. We do have to make some changes in order to make a sleeveless. And I know I've warned you before, but there are patterns out there, again, those less expensive, less experienced pattern makers, and they'll have a sleeveless and a sleeve version, and they use the same arm size. That's not correct. So we're going to show
as
you
soon
how.
as you put it on,
You'll know why. So we're going to show you how to correct the arm size so that you could take any pattern that you have that fits you well and turn it into a sleeveless pattern.
If you have any questions on what we've done today or purchasing that
Support.
the fitting support, or anything for that matter, you can call us. When we're in the office, we always answer. Email is the best way to get a quickest response at any time, and that's islandersewing@comcast.net. But yeah,
I guess that's it for today. But I had fun.
good. I'm glad.
You didn't have fun?
Of course, I had fun. And I learned something.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. That doesn't happen.
Did you learn anything?
Sure.
Okay. You learn something new every day.
Yes. Yes. So, make your sleeve changes, and next week we'll show you how to do it without a sleeve. I'm hoping that you'll be able to make a few shirts from this pattern now. You've made the long sleeve. A lot of you made the long sleeved, everybody's. So now you'll be able to make a short sleeved, and next week we'll show you how to make it sleeveless. You'll be able to get a lot of use out of that pattern.
Barbara, don't make me send Janet after you.
Uh-oh.
I tell her what you said. She goes, it was Barbara Crawford. She says, I can't just lob the sleeves off of my favorite blouse.
Sure you can, Barbara. You go right ahead.
She's just trying to get you to come after her because she misses you.
My good buddy Barbara Newhouse Crawford, who lives in Texas, and she came here and took a private Islander Sewing Systems classes many years ago and made a beautiful shirt for her husband. And I don't know what all you're sewing right now. I know she makes biscotti. She makes biscotti and
She
sells.
sews biscotti?
No, she cooks.
I know.
She's from an Italian family and has a great command of Italian cooking. So she sells this fabulous, Brenda says it's to die for, biscotti online.
Brenda Ryder.
Barbara, put your web address in the comments.
Brenda Ryder. We Janet is working with the Everybody shirt.
Either one.
That's the one that she is using as an example, but you could also use the Shirt Makers Express. And we have kits for both of those on the website. She tuned in late. Okay, so we'll be back next week. Contact us if you have any questions in the meantime.
Yes, we will be glad to answer your questions. And we're looking forward to next week. And if you have any changes you'd like to suggest
Yeah.
that you'd like to see to a shirt, if we can cover them, we will. So send me an email and say, because somebody wrote last week and said, how do you do the sleeveless? So we added that.
Good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Mhm.
All right. So we'll see you in a week here Tuesdays at 2
p.m. Eastern Time.
Eastern Time.
I'm Janet Prey, and this is Jessica Johnson. Thanks so much for making our day a better day. We hope we did the same for you. Bye-bye.
Bye.